Hello. Hi, I'm Becca, and this is my booktube. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you're watching this video after watching a previous video. Welcome if you are new here. Today I'm just going to recap some of the books that I have read since May. Originally I was going to do a May-June recap because for the earlier part of the year I was able to do my recaps in like 2-month chunks, and if you guys have been following along, you know I haven't posted anything in a while. And the funny thing is I actually have recorded this video more than once since June and July. I was using a web camera to record my videos before, and I really wasn't liking what the quality of it and stuff, so I decided I was going to use a different camera. And then it was just taking me a really long time to find another camera. I tried recording videos on my cell phone and they turned out okay, but then summer and end of school year stuff just got super crazy and busy, and so I just haven't been able to make a video recently. And then my mom just visited for the past 2 weeks, and while she was staying with my family around that time, she helped me get a camera. So thank you, Mom. Hopefully we're gonna move forward with making videos a little more consistently. Also, while my mom was visiting, we stopped by her cousin's house, and her cousin was getting rid of a bunch of stuff, and she gave me a bunch of yarn. It's finally cool outside. We're coming to the end of August. It's a little bit of a habit or tradition of mine that when I hit that first cool day in August, or really when like the fall bug finally bites me, I crochet something. So you guys are going to come along with me to find a pattern on Pinterest, hopefully pick one. And then I'm also going to tell you guys about the books that I read in May, June, and July. I just haven't finished a whole book in August. And with the way August has been going, I don't know that I will finish a whole book in August. And I only read one book in July. So yeah, it's been a slow reading summer. I definitely thought I was gonna get more reading done. Definitely did not get more reading done. We are going to pull up Pinterest and chat. We're just gonna type in free crochet patterns. In the middle of May, after I came back from my friend's bachelorette party, I read A Curse Carved in Bone by Danielle Jensen. And it's a book that I had been thinking about reading for a really long time. I actually picked it up from the library the day I left for my friend's bachelorette party. Like, picked it up from the library, put it on my kitchen table, and then left for the weekend in Saratoga Springs. While I was there, I told someone else that I had just picked up that book, and they said it was really good. And so I was really looking forward to reading it, but I was also a little apprehensive. It's a book that blew up on the internet a little bit when it came out, and I've had a couple books that a lot of people liked that just really fell short for me personally. So I was really hoping that would not happen, and it did not. I really enjoyed it. It was a really good book. It had some like really good twists and turns and stuff. It was just like very interesting all the way through. The premise, it is like a Norse mythology, like Viking-esque setting. We meet our main character, her name is Freya. In this story setting, there are people who are born with a drop of God's blood in them, and if you have a drop of God's blood, then you can say that God's name, or goddess's name, and you'll summon their power, and you can use it for a period of time. We follow her. We find out in the beginning of the story, we find out that she has a drop of God's blood in her that's kind of been kept a secret because she is supposedly part of a prophecy, and her parents were trying to protect her from being used. And so, you know, it gets revealed that she has this power, and so she gets taken to this other camp. She meets this other, like the leader, I can't remember the word now, but like the leader of the camp. She goes to this other camp, and there's a guy there who's around the same age as her, and he's the son of the guy in charge of the camp, and they just have a lot of really great banter and like this little bit of like rivals, enemies to lovers vibe going on. We meet a lot of other people who have drops of God's blood in them, and you know, we really see her go through this like change of heart and change of mentality towards different things. And at the end, there's a big crazy reveal sort of where, you know, she had used this, like something magical had happened around her in another part of the story, and it was a little bit confusing and unexplained, and then it happened again later, and we're starting to get like a little bit better of an explanation. But Danielle L. Jensen has a penchant for the betrayal trope, and she kind of still used it in this one, and I don't know. It's not a trope that I enjoy. That book ended on a little bit of a cliffhanger. Thankfully, when I finished reading it, the second book had already come out. It was coming out like right when I was reading the first book. So I was able to almost immediately after finishing the first book, read the second book. It was really, really good. I thought it was a really good conclusion. I thought the magic was really good. I thought a lot of the like surprises in it were very well written, very well crafted. The characters made sense. It had one of the things that I really, really enjoy when I read a book that is meant to be set in like a very different time in a different world, and it's that the characters spoke, like their speech patterns were very different from how we talk. When I'm watching something or reading something and it's meant to be set in like medieval times or like Vikings or whatever, and the verbiage and the speech patterns and all that kind of stuff are like so modern, it really takes me out, and I have a very difficult time enjoying it. But I very, very much enjoyed this one. So I read those two back to back, and then I read the Trope Thesaurus, which is one of the books I bought at a used bookstore when I was in Saratoga Springs in May. I read it because I thought that it would have a little bit more to it. It only took me a day to read because it was a lot of skimming and it had a lot of repeated information, but I had intended to make a video talking about tropes, and I do think I'm still gonna make that video. Just the one that I made, I feel like it fell short. It fell short. The video that I made, I feel like it fell short. I feel like I should have taken a little bit more time. I kind of like wrote it up in like a day, and I really should have taken my time to like script it out a little bit better and like make sure my thoughts and things were a little more concise. I really want to redo that one. So I read the Trope Thesaurus, and then I read Slaying the Vampire Conqueror by Carissa Broadbent. If you watched my other videos, you know I read her other books in her like vampire series. Someone else that I follow online was reading through Carissa Broadbent's Crowns of Nyaxia books, and they posted about reading Slaying the Vampire Conqueror, and they said it was good. I think they also said it was like a quick read or something like that. I kept seeing stuff about it, and the premise just seemed so interesting. Like, the main character is blind, but she moves around, like she can kind of see and stuff. And so I finally downloaded it on my Kindle and I read it, and I think the magic system in it is very fascinating. The main character is part of this group of witches type people. I don't know. Yeah, I guess they could be classified as witches. But they essentially sacrifice their sight to this goddess, and then the goddess gives them the ability of like having foresight and using visions to predict things that are going to happen or advise people on things. And then part of their magic is, even though they give up their sight, they see these like threads and lines around them, and so they can still navigate without visually seeing things. They can like sense the world around them and sense people. And so I really enjoyed that magic system. I really enjoyed that part of the story. Some of the romance was interesting, some of the characters are interesting, but overall it wasn't a great book for me. It wasn't that it was a bad book, it just didn't hit any notes. Like, he didn't really strike a chord for me internally. Maybe I'll make a hooded scarf. I've always wanted to make a hooded scarf. I usually just go for slouchy hats. I would love to try to make a sweater, but I really don't know if I have enough yarn to make a sweater. Okay, so after I read Slaying the Vampire Conqueror, I read Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins, which was her newest It's the newest book that's being written in the Hunger Games world. It's meant to be Haymitch's backstory, and I feel really bad because I know a lot of people really loved it, but I didn't love it at all. There was very little about that book that I actually enjoyed. It didn't feel like it fit with the other ones. It didn't feel like it sounded like Haymitch. It felt like it was drowning in fanfare. There were just too many scenarios and characters that linked to President Snow's book and Katniss's books. And I understand, like, we want those connections. We want to find the threads. But we got a whole freaking... We didn't get threads. We got, like, a whole freaking tapestry of connections. And that's just too much. The world does not function like that. That's too many connections. It should be coincidence. Like, with President Snow's book, I bought that there were certain situations that it's, like, coincidentally could kind of match up with Katniss, and it would explain why he was so driven to not like her, and it was because of certain parallels that existed. But, like, the fact that there were too many of them in Haymitch's book really bothered me, and I felt like there were just certain things that were meant to connect us to the other books that didn't make any sense. They just felt like they were kind of forced, and this is probably very mean of me to say, but it really just felt like Hollywood wrote a screenplay for Haymitch's story because they wanted to make a movie, and then they took the screenplay and gave it to Suzanne Collins, and then they were just like, write a novel based around this screenplay so that you can sell it, and then after your book is published, we'll put the movie out. And it felt very disingenuous. There were a lot of situations that I just felt very emotionally disconnected from, when I felt like the intent was that I was supposed to feel emotionally connected. And that always stresses me out when I read a book that I feel like everyone else, and even like the author's intention, is that I'm supposed to be drawn into what's happening, but I can't connect with it at all. So that was kind of a bummer, but it's okay. Can't love every book. Maybe I'll make a vest. So she gave me this purple yarn, which seems like it's got a lot. But then there's also this really nice chunky wool yarn. Oh, I like that. Oh, and there's a lot of it. Oh, I think I'm gonna use this one. I'm gonna make something chunky. Okay, so we're giving up on the purple and we're gonna switch to this. Yes, I know, thrilling content. I'm so interested. Chunky yarn crochet pattern. After I read Sunrise on the Reaping, I read Lessons in Chemistry, which I think I bought my copy of it when I was in Saratoga Springs as well. I think that was one of the books that I bought there. It was really, really popular and I wanted to read it, but I was also very worried that I was going to be disappointed by it, so I'd kind of been holding off on reading it. But I also, on like Instagram Reels and Facebook Reels, I kept seeing clips from the TV show that they made, the Apple TV show that they made with Brie Larson, and it seemed really interesting to me. I think I also kind of needed a palette cleanser because I had just been reading so much other random stuff. So I decided to read that, and it was fantastic. I read it in June. It was actually like one of the only books I really read in June, because I read everything else in May. And I really, really liked it. It definitely, if I had read it sooner, it could have been part of my autism representation video that I made, because I definitely, as someone who struggles with being on the spectrum, definitely saw a lot of myself in the main character and a lot of the things that she deals with and thinks through. It was so beautiful. I think it was really, really well made, and it was very easy to read. It flowed really, really well, and it told a really beautiful story, and I really enjoyed it. And I'm also really glad that I never watched the Apple TV show, because now after reading it and seeing some other clips that are not part of the book, I think I would have felt kind of weird if I had watched it first and then went back and read the book. that one definitely threw me, that would have thrown me for a real loop, but it was a really beautiful book, and I'm really happy I read it. I'm glad I own a copy so I can revisit it or share it with someone sometime. I then went most of June not reading anything else until the very end of June. I read Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. I actually tried to read that book several years ago. My little sister was getting into reading and she read it and she thought it was really good. It was like one of the first books she's binged, either ever or in a very long time. And so she wanted me to read it. She thought I would enjoy it because it's kind of a fantasy book. So I gave it a shot and I just didn't find it as interesting. And I DNF'd it when I tried to read it previously. Having DNF'd it, she bugged me a lot to try again. I decided because her birthday was coming up that I would try again. So I read Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. I made it all the way through from cover to cover. There was times when I really enjoyed it, and then there were times where I was very annoyed because I don't know if it's all of Mary E. Pearson's writing or just these books, but she repeatedly did the thing, which is like my biggest pet peeve. There was a different book I tried to read earlier this year that I remember talking about that I DNF'd for this reason. And I think it was like The Crimson Moth or something like that. But if the author like describes, okay, as an author, one of the things that you're told a lot and people can be commended for a lot, and I try to practice a lot, is show, don't tell. So it's the idea that instead of saying the moon was shining on the lake, you describe, you know, the color of the lake being interrupted by white across the top in streaks. And that gives this visual thought where you're showing someone the moon is shining on the lake without saying the moon is shining on the lake. And you want to do one or the other. You can either just tell people the moon was shining on the lake, that's fine, especially if you do it every once in a while, because if you do too much description, it can throw people off. My problem is when you show someone something and then tell them afterwards. And I'm just like, why did you show me if you were also going to tell me? Just pick one. And then the other thing that Mary Pearson did is that she consistently had times where she would like paraphrase what the characters were saying. So instead of using dialogue to grow the characters and to move the story, which is one of my favorite things when I read, is getting the opportunity to like hear the characters talking and get to know them through their own words. We got a lot of, he explained da 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 da, she said da 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 da, but it was never in quotes. It was literally just like a paraphrasing of it, and I don't like that. I very much don't like that. I really want to read dialogue. It's hard for me to write dialogue. I really appreciate well-written dialogue. It's one of my favorite things about reading. So I was just very bummed out by the fact that that wasn't present. I mean, there were parts of it that were interesting. I do think maybe a different version of myself, like if I had read that at a different time in my life, I think I may have liked it more. But I don't think that who I am now and where I am now and books I've read make that an enjoyable book for me. Sorry, Katie. But I still have Vow of Thieves. The thing is, if I read a book and it has a book that comes after it, if I'm not dying to read that next book, I'm probably not going to, because I've been burned too many times. I am fully capable of not finishing reading a series if the first one did not really make me happy. Life is too short to waste my time reading books I do not want to read. So that's that. I've picked up reading several different books, have not finished them. So hopefully sometime in September, I actually finish reading more than one book. So this is my May, June, July, August recap, because August I didn't read anything. July I only read one book. May and June I read several. So I'm really hoping I get a little bit more reading done in these cooler months. Hopefully life slows down a little bit and I have a little bit more time. Summer has just felt very chaotic. Looking forward to the slower, cooler months coming up soon. Let me know if you've read any of these books. Let me know what you thought about them, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back. Oh, wow. I forgot it that fast. Why do I suddenly have a headache? I don't want to have a headache right now. Okay. I just pulled up Pinterest, and of course, like, the first thing I saw was a writing pen, and instead of doing what I'm supposed to do, I'm distracted. My brain is so foggy. I'm so annoyed. Read Slaying the Vampire Conqueror. Oh my gosh. Wow. I don't know what just happened. Okay. Also, welcome to the lower half of my bookshelf. I don't usually film down here. I usually sit in a chair so you guys can see a little more of an interesting part of my bookshelf, but I'm on the floor today. I had intended to make, excuse me,